meeting was already called for order. We just the agenda changes, got a bunch of payroll warrants for pay that I go announce, but we'll do the budget amendments first. Well, stand. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you put a waving flag up there sometime? All right, let me just get through these signed warrant articles, signed payable warrants. The one on April 18th, number 17-19, the amount of $1,473,263.90. These are items that were signed by the chair that were just announced. Payroll warrant number 17-19, March 28th, $311,042.04. Payroll warrant number 17-18, $235,530.34. April 4th. April 11th, 17-20, $307,109.95. And April 18th, payroll warrant 19, did I get that one already? 473, did that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for that. April 24th is the election, and there are a number of questions on the ballot that people should be concerned about. Rob, did you have some? No. Okay. And I think that's it. Anybody else have anything? No? Yeah?
The Special Olympics is April 28th through the Ayer Regional School. There's, I believe, 6 members going. So I'd leave it up to the chair, but I didn't know if we might want to have them in the following Tuesday for recognition. I know it's been included 4 or 5 years ago, but I think Dr. Malone, we can get the names right here.
When is it?
It's next Friday, so a week from Friday, April 28th. So it'll be Friday before our next meeting.
Okay.
And it's a pretty cool event over at Fitchburg State. It's really a great event, actually. And want to congratulate the Ayer Middle School. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was gonna, you just brought us on the robotics team.
Oh, yeah. I'll leave that to you because I was going to mention that too.
Yeah.
The Ayer Middle School production of Singing in the Rain was absolutely fantastic. A little biased because Jack was in it, but it was really fantastic. They did a great job. And that was last weekend, three performances. These kids are crazy amazing in sixth grade. And the mock trial team, I think Dr. Malone told me they made it to the Elite 8 in the state. And they beat Phillips Academy in Andover, which we all know is
Big team, yeah.
and one of the Newton schools. So I think they lost to Newton North in the final round. But I mean, that's pretty impressive for a small town. So congratulations to them.
Chris, a nice write-up in the front of today's paper on them.
Good.
Very good.
Good, fantastic.
And the robotics team went to Kansas City.
St. Louis, again, I think this is the third. I think they've been in performed 4 years ago, and I think they've gone 3 years already. It's very impressive under what's going on there.
Well, it's all good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Public input. Anyone? Name?
Kenny Diskin, 180 Washington Street.
Okay.
So the reason I'm here is I'm following up a little bit on some of the discussion I heard at the board meetings in the past month or so regarding Air Solar One. And I hope this doesn't cause any more angst, but at your meeting of March 7th, discussion came up with Mr. Mark Smith from Douglas Drive, who we talked before the board, about the fact that he was concerned with the amount of trees that were taken down in this site. And he was informed by Mr. Fay and Mr. Pompriand, who followed up with that everything concerning the planning board approvals was done in accordance with the legal requirements at the time. Mr. Pompriand said that he was going to follow up and have a meeting with the developer, so I'm concerned if you've had that meeting or any discussion with the developer. That's the first question that I had.
Yep.
Then, as we may or may not know, on the week following, the 9th of the month, a discussion was brought up by the applicant who notified the Conservation Commission at the time that there was a construction error, is how he's termed it, and an additional approximately 100 feet of trees to a total of about 39,000 square feet of trees were taken down in the same area that Mr. Smith talked about the previous week to this board. So my concern is that, and I'm going to read you from the minutes, if you don't mind. I've got the minutes, I'll just give them to you. So the minutes, this is the minutes of the Conservation Commission. So GPR was made aware of this error by the abutters from Douglas Drive at a recent planning board meeting. Mr. Goldmuth, who's GPR,
Yeah.
said it is now clear that close to 39,000 square feet was clear that should not have been cleared. I'm just taking bits and pieces of his statements. GPR did the original property, this is again him continuing, GPR did the original property survey and missed this detail, for which Mr. Goldsmith was very apologetic. Like, again, Mr. Goldsmith acknowledged that GPR is wholly responsible for the plans that were provided to the contractors, and continues on with the discussion of how they're going to remediate and solve this problem. So then I went back and I said, you know what? If GPR is basically quoted as, in noting the fact that they made this number of errors on the conservation side, and Mr. Fay has stated, and the town has stated, that the planning board pretty much had done what they're supposed to do, my concern is that the planning board should go back. I'm asking the selectmen to talk to the planning board and have them reconsider their decision that they're done. I think they should take into account what's been stated here and review the planning board approval as well. And the reason I bring that up is because I believe the planning board has a lot of strength in this regard under both our Ayer zoning bylaws and other requirements that determine site plan review. Now, I understand that they have the as-of-right zoning, that's an issue that is yet unresolved. I'm aware of it and I know how it works. But under any condition, an unreasonable disturbance of that nature on the land certainly should get planning board, I think, more involved in a fallback position, because they certainly have a responsibility to look at landscaping, to look at any improvements. So the discussion I've heard early, yet this is all unofficial, what I'm talking about, is that planning board has decided not to be involved any further, and it's basically in the purview of conservation. So I'm asking this board consider that they ask planning to reconsider that decision, get planning involved as well, so the town has a full review of any potential other issues that come up, based on the fact that GPR has an acknowledged mistake here, and they could have made other mistakes.
Right. Did conservation, did they provide any?
Conservation's result at this time, I'm speaking for conservation now, okay, is
I
that
believe I don't know this.
the applicant is going to go back to conservation under a notice of intent for the area that was disturbed, but not for the whole project. So the panels have been relocated, this is the other reason I want planning involved. The panels have been relocated outside the area of the disturbance, so they've moved them in 100 feet.
Okay.
In the additional area. They had to do that anyway. But since they've also relocated it, isn't there some precedent that if you move a project on a site, if it were a building construction project and you relocate a building on the site, you clearly go back to planning and say, you know, it's a relocated building, we need you, and I'm thinking this is it's a $3 million construction project. So I'm viewing it as a building or a $3 million type of construction project. There seems to have been, I'm just speculating, there seems to have been not as much review that could have potentially been done on the project in general, because the complication seemed to be on the notice of intent at the end of Rosewood Ave, which was a rather intense piece of construction. In the back part of the project, where the panels are located, seemed to go, I reviewed all the tapes and videotapes and whatnot, and it seemed to go through the planning process relatively smoothly. So with a new planning board in place, with a new chairman in place, I think it's appropriate for the citizens to ask that the town take another look at this in that regard.
Are you guys gonna get together and go in front of the planning board? Or, you did, but they decided not to?
My understanding, I happened to be out of town when the planning board met last and a few days ago. From what I heard from Mr. Smith, who was at the planning board that night, was that the planning board, you can answer that, Mr. Bontrian, I think you might know.
Through the chair, I was at that meeting that Mr. Diskin wasn't, at the planning board. And Chairman Fay said that the planning board is going to move forward with Solar 2, which is an open and active project.
Not yet, that's what,
Right,
yeah, just came in.
Was not going to go back on Solar 1.
So how do we fix that?
I think Mr. Diskin's question is a fair request of this board, as the Board of Selectmen, if the board is willing to authorize me on your behalf to draft a formal request that the planning board, I mean, you as the chief executive body, that the planning board review Solar 1. The other issue just that Mr. Diskin asked, as I told this board, we are in the process of setting up that meeting with those abutters, you remember that were here they have agreed that the developer, we've just had a hard time getting him to set up the meeting, but we will have that meeting with the folks on Douglas Drive that are concerned. And thirdly, which Mr. Diskin mentioned, which I think does deserve emphasis, many of us, myself included, at the Conservation Commission meeting that night when the project mentioned the error in the measurement and pertaining to the buffer. This is a serious error, and I know that Mr. Daniels and the Conservation Commission are still looking at that, if you will, but...
Well, they're waiting for the plans to be resubmitted for that area,
Right.
for that portion of the work only.
But there are fundamental concerns of an error of that magnitude, because as the board can appreciate, the old growth trees and so forth that have been cut down, A, you can't instantly replace that, and B, I don't believe that the town should settle for, 2 or 3 foot arborvitaes as the solution. So there are a lot of moving parts, but I think that the request, it's up to the board, the request though from Mr. Diskin, and there are others that are concerned that the planning board do a review. I understand they're elected board, but you can make that request that they review the whole matter.
I don't think they know how to.
Oh, yeah, they do.
No. I'm just saying. This was a very okay through. They don't know how to. Maybe they don't want to. But what do we do if they moved on? I'm flabbergasted by that after what you just explained, Mr. Diskin, and how you explained it. That
Well, this would have been approved by the...
I mean, this isn't that they cut a pine tree a foot over the buffer zone. This was 39.
It's 100 feet.
So
The interpretation was the project is actually the James Brook, the north side of the project and northwest side of the project is within the riverfront of James Brook. That's the correct term. Buffer zone typically applies to the wetlands, a 100-foot buffer, but riverfront has a special category under the Wetland Protection Act of 200 feet. So work within the 200-foot limit requires more review. The other thing that's kind of interesting, and I haven't got to it, it's really deep, but is that in the initial application for the work, the applicant, GPR, asked the Conservation Commission for permission to work within the original buffer zone, since the scope of the work involved gradient that was going away from the James Brook and so forth. So they actually made an original request, I think, to work within the original buffer zone of 100 feet. So it's beyond my right now to find out exactly where they are. But there was quite a discussion regarding that in the first place, and that they went under a lesser requirement because they stayed without. That's for conservation. The other concern I have, if you don't mind,
Through the chair.
through the chair,
Yeah.
only one more thing. The other portion of this which is concerning to me is that the original applicant on the project, as you may or may not know, was a gentleman by the name of Rohit Garg, under the name of his company, which I believe was Prometheus
Yes.
Power Group. On the meeting of the planning board of last year, the representatives of a new owner presented themselves. Kearsarge, got it here somewhere. There it is right here. So last year, on the August 4th of 2016 planning board meeting, I'm reading it from the minutes again, please. Air Solar sent their local representatives, Andrew Bernstein and Everett Tallenbaum from Kearsarge Energy, Air Solar One LLC has been purchased by Kearsarge Energy to own and operate for 20 years. Then it says the company has managed many projects in Massachusetts. So I have somewhat of a concern, it's only on a technical basis, that we've issued a permit to a company that sold a project to another firm. Who really is on the hook here as a developer of the project? Who do we contact in the event that a board had to notify the proper person? This could be, that's my question. Just consider the fact that I think the town should know at least who is the correct party here in the method of, in communication and whatnot. Because someone's responsible, and it's unclear, since the actual minutes from the Conservation Commission indicated that it was Prometheus in their minutes of last month. Let's see right here.
Are these?
That's the minutes from last
What
month.
was the conservation's finding in this mistake? I mean, have they come up with anything yet?
They're required, the applicant, to come back and provide a notice of intent, which is a full review, for the area of the disturbed area.
Okay.
But they've authorized them to continue, and they have pulled a building permit with the section outside the area of disturbance, and they indicated it on the ground. They made them put it on the ground, so they worked outside that area. I'm speaking for conservation now, so you can check what I say if need be, or Robert can check
Fair
it.
enough. My concern is we let this drag on, this project, how long do we let it go? If the project's complete, and my guess is it doesn't get resolved. Is it see you later? If they're done? Sorry, we didn't act fast enough. Not us, this board, but we left cleaning up the mess.
Yeah, we need you to look into this.
And I would say we would have the right to revoke the building permit if they're not conforming to what was spelled out.
Mr. Schultz, the building commissioner, indicated to the chair, to me, that if there were issues from conservation, planning, board of selectmen, the higher boards, if there were issues, he would have no problem either withholding or delaying or rescinding building permits to make sure that the town's interests are protected. I do agree with him on that. I think that's a change from past practice.
Yes.
I think that in the interest of time, I think that Mr. Diskin's request tonight is a reasonable one if the board wants to consider to authorize a formal communication for a comprehensive review of the whole thing by the planning board. And I would also, as town council is authorized through my office, where applicable, get them involved. I mean, this will speak to a larger issue when we talk about planning later tonight. You can see some of the issues here, but I think that would be a first and an appropriate step for the board to consider, is authorizing a formal request to the planning board to do a comprehensive review. Just as final point, that the board is aware, on what we're calling Solar 2, which is going to be underway, Mr. Fay and the planning board are going to notify all of the abutters. See, in Solar 1, though it's not required to notify for the site plan, because of what happened in Solar 1, you can never over-notify, as I say. So, I mean, but there are fundamental concerns and questions that still remain on Solar 1 that I think would warrant the request to be a fair one.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. And we should get the Conservation Commission involved too, with the whole thing, so everybody's on the same page. And it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I got water myself the first time ever. Because I got the solar behind me, that they strip all the trees out.
Why'd you let him do that? Chairman of the board.
I think
I didn't know.
what would be helpful is if the board would just make a formal authorization, A, so it's in the record, and B, for when I contact the planning board, that it's official from the Board of Selectmen. Just a motion to authorize a communication for a comprehensive review of the entire solar project to date.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
It's a
Thank
step.
You.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't want to lose it. I paid for the clock.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Depot Square town relocation status. Mr. Michael McFarland.
Yes. Members of the board, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Michael McFarland, the president of Oxlium Incorporated. Our relocation experts, as the board is aware, you authorized his relocation services to work with the town. He's been primarily working with Ms. Antonellis on the legal and procedural requirements for the relocation of the two tenants in the Depot Square building, the Advocates building, the Ross Fitness Center and the Advocates. And we're at a point where I thought it would be appropriate to have Mr. McFarland come before the board to give an update and status report as to where we're at and to also answer any questions that the board may have for him.
Good evening.
Welcome.
I have been a practitioner in what's referred to as the right-of-way industry for the past 25 years. We started back in 1992. The town's right to acquire property is provided for in the Fifth Amendment of our Constitution. The town's responsibility to provide services, namely relocation services and advisory services, to displaced commercial tenants in this situation is under a federal law called the Uniform Relocation and Real Property Acquisition Act of 1970. We also have a state law, one for eminent domain, which is Chapter 79, the other for providing relocation benefits is Chapter 79A. Massachusetts is and I teach this stuff too. We have an international organization called the Right-of-Way Association, which has 12,000 members. And we obtain certifications to provide this type of assistance. Massachusetts is the only state in the Union that has its own Bureau of Relocation. As part of this process, when I spoke first with Robert and the town decided to move forward, I had to get a designation from the Bureau of Relocation at DHCD to do this work. At this point in time, one of the two tenants has found another site and hopefully will be moving forward from Depot Square by early May. The other tenant, we have looked at a number of places within the town and we're still looking.
So what does that mean? They stay until they agree or something suitable?
No, the town does have an option under Chapter 79 to take control of the premises.
So to add on to Mr. McFarland's presentation, the Ross Fitness Center has a location in Ayer that they would like to move to. On
They
Advocate,
already closed?
no, he's still open.
Oh, the signs are down.
Took the signage down.
Yeah. The Advocates program, Mr. McFarland has worked exhaustively with Mr. Perla up at the hospital to try to find a location there, has worked with Mr. Keyser at Mass Development to find a potential location, worked with Mr. Minoyan and our office with a private business owner on Park Street to find a location for these folks, meaning with Advocates. There may be an opportunity for them on Mass Development. However, with that opportunity, we have to talk about the space is not available until August on that one, which gets into the timeline on the demo piece. The other part is, and you can refresh my memory to what the statute is with fitness, what he's looking for in that process. He's looking for a lump, what they call
It's called a payment in lieu of actual and reasonable expenses, and it's capped at a number. His income is the determination by which the calculation is done. We have reviewed tax records, which do not become public. And under that benefit, it is capped at $40,000.
And all the moving is on him.
He is responsible for the search, he's responsible for the move, he's responsible for all costs associated with vacating Depot Square and reestablishing himself at the new location.
And what are the good points and bad points of this?
So, well, first, that's the option that he's exercising, or wants to exercise. I think as Mr. McParland mentioned, that the town makes the payment, he's responsible for everything, and he's out. So in terms of the benefits, we don't get involved in logistics and so forth of moving. The other side, and again, Mr. McParland can speak to this in more detail, this particular tenant is eligible for the maximum benefit, and that's based on certified tax returns and so forth, as Mr. McParland did all of that due diligence. It's not just based on what the tenant says or so forth. I mean, this is all certified, professional process. So it's $40,000. The other piece, as I told the Board of Selectmen, we discussed last spring when the eminent domain came to be and fully underway in July, the FY17 budget at the time had been set. And I had factored in the eminent domain costs and so forth, but the relocation costs were never in the budget. So the FY17 budget, there is no funding for the relocation. That being the case, as much as I know the board isn't thrilled, or nor am I in the recommendation, in order to move forward with this project, I'm respectfully recommending consideration of authorizing the UDAG funds for the move. And the last piece, I don't know if I want to call it bad news, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the other tenant may also choose to exercise this option. We don't know yet.
It would depend if they find office space, as we found in one place, where everything is built out, the voice and data cabling in place, the offices are in place, they may go that way. If they have to go in there and fit out the space to accommodate their private offices and their conference rooms, because they're a counseling service, they require private offices to do the one-on-one counseling, and also a conference room or two conference rooms when they do the group counseling in the evening. So it would depend upon whether they're finding an open shell or a completely fitted out space.
So if it's shells, then they go for the other.
They'll go for what's called the actual and reasonable.
Yeah.
So what if they find a shell that takes a 3-month build up? We're stuck.
I think what we'll try to look at is some sort of a temporary move as an interim.
And back to Ross Fitness. So he could just object to any place that you found, accept $40,000 and move to that same place a week later, technically. And I know this is a state bureaucratic stuff, but just mind-boggling to me. He has the final say, I'm assuming. I'm sure you found numerous places that he can go to.
He decided that he would underdo his own search. And originally he was going to Shirley, and then he found a place in Ayer.
Run for Senate.
So, respectfully, I'm recommending that the board consider the authorization of the $40,000 from UDAG to get that tenant moved. We are trying to get the other tenant a space, and it's not from lack of trying. The one potential space that exists on mass development that could be an ideal fit, the caveat is that it won't be ready for them until August. I understand that the board wants the building at Depot Square per your vote demolished. Mart is preparing to do that in May. It may have to be delayed, I'm just talking out loud to the board, delayed till August.
How would that hurt the timeline? though?
How would that what?
Wouldn't they be working on the parking?
Right.
They're in engineering right now, so it doesn't, if it got torn down like next March, it doesn't affect, right? We checked with Bruno just in anticipation.
Okay.
And that was advocates, as we understand it, their preferred location, because they did have significant build out already
Correct.
at Devon's.
And then there is, as Mr. McFarland mentioned, there will be costs with the advocates tenant that, again, are not budgeted for.
Okay, so we need money for Ross, and we're gonna need money for,
Yeah. Ross is the immediate need.
so do we need another warrant article for the other one? Or we're gonna tap UTAG again for that one? It shouldn't be more than 40,000, right?
It depends where they go, sir. Okay?
Yeah.
Again, open shell versus
Oh.
space already fitted out. Okay.
See, there's still too many unknown variables
Yep.
in terms of the budgetary
Yeah.
warrant process, which, don't get me wrong, would be the ideal piece. But we also knew, unfortunately, that this would happen sort of midstream. So I think on the Ross, authorizing the 40,000 UDAG, subject to replenishment, as we've done on other projects. And then, when I say we wait and see where we get on advocates. But we're not gonna make, obviously, you're gonna be approving the warrant and the budget tonight. We probably will have to address that through UDAG as well, unless it gets close to the fall.
What if we don't, I mean, was this space that he went to something that you had found? Or,
He found his own space. He did not want anyone else.
so you didn't,
We
okay.
attempted to, he
Yeah.
refused.
Because he knew there was a payout of $40,000 coming.
He had his own
Well-
relocation specialist.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's a rock and a hard place.
The other one last piece, the positive thing about getting, and it's not a reflection on the tenants, let me say that. But as the board can appreciate, the municipality does not want to be in the business of a landlord with private entities. We've done what we've had to do in terms of repairs and so forth through Mr. Sherman's department, but the sooner that we can get this back into the public realm and get private tenants out, it's in the best interest of the town.
Do we have the right to raise the rent?
Normally, what happens when a property is taken, what is put in place is what's called a use and occupancy charge. The reason being is that that does not give the rights of a tenant, okay? I think what the town did with both tenants is they continued the rent at what the previous lease was at, okay?
Correct.
But I would assume the lease has expired since, I mean, this last be May.
They're tenants at will, okay? Quite honestly, raising the rent, you don't need the publicity, okay? Normally what happens, and please understand, like, we represent the BRA in Boston. Normally what happens when a property is taken, we'll go at 75% of the previous rent, okay? Under the lease, a tenant at will, because you don't have any rights as a tenant. Whereas as a tenant at will, you have rights as far as being notified and stuff like that, as far as leaving the site.
I guess my point is the incentive of moving the tenant elsewhere sooner than later, because this has been for a while now. Correct?
He's read through the.
Not Mr. Ross, I think
Oh.
he wants his 40 grand, maybe gone tomorrow, but,
Yeah,
May, for beginning of May.
yeah.
I don't want to be sitting here next spring.
No, we don't think we will.
Do we have a tally of what, I mean, can we,
dedicate the rent we receive now to replenish? We budget 12 months, right?
So the collection of rent began for the town July 1st of 2016. And,
Goes in the general fund.
yeah, it goes into the general fund, but we can get that accounting. It was not a lot of money, but
And we have a replenishment on the warrant, right?
correct.
Oh, you
For
can-
300 and something thousand.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that'll bring it back up to where it's supposed to be.
Yes. So after this town meeting, assuming the voters, if the article passes, the UDAG will be completely replenished.
And is there, I'm sorry, is there,
Minus it, not, that doesn't include
let's
this.
say this Evans, we're sitting on this and this falls through. What next? I mean, we're,
We are continuing to look, as well as the advocates, okay? And hopefully, we'll be able to even go back and revisit a previous site to see if we can resurrect something that would work. The ultimate decision, okay, as to where a business goes is their decision. Our responsibility is to try and provide as much information as possible for available sites.
no, understood. I guess my point is, when does our responsibility finally run out? If we, I mean, I'm not saying advocates has done anything to, get in the way of moving or anything like that, but let's say we're here in March of next year and, Devon's fell through. You've looked at every available site in the area. Are we stuck? We've already paid Ross, which he could have now stayed there. I guess I'm throwing out worst case scenarios.
I think you have to look at the nature of the business that the advocates is in and weigh the input that they give to the town, okay? They're a little bit different than, say, an accounting service, all right? So because of that is why we redouble our efforts on this one, okay, to make something happen so that the services that they provide within the town are still available, okay?
Having said that, we paid $500,000 for a building, and they're getting a reduced rent. What
No,
happens if-
they're paying the same rent
Okay,
that they paid
okay.
under their last lease.
Yeah.
We're here in March, and things are rolling, because I don't foresee much happening engineering until late summer anyways, with the other parcel, so I guess that's my concern. We're gonna be back here saying, well, everything's ready to go, but we still have a tenant in there.
I certainly hope not.
But that's a possibility. They basically hold all the cards. The tenant.
No, the town holds a card in the sense of under Section 3 of Chapter 79, which is the eminent domain law, the town can take possession of the property.
Okay, so we do have
Okay.
the ability to,
Right.
if it gets to that point.
And in 25 years, I have never seen it exercised.
Okay.
And I have a client right now who it's being threatened to be exercised on.
Okay. No, I'm not questioning your services, I just want to make clear that we have options. And I don't suspect that will happen with them, I just,
No, you can just see the cameras out there now.
cameras, but, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think people would be more upset that we're sitting on a building we paid $500,000 for, or $250,000 for, a year later.
Got a motion or anything? Not, questions?
I'm not making this motion.
Huh?
I'm not making this motion.
I'm just figuring I have to wait. I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen use $40,000 out of the UDAG for the relocation payment to the Kyle Ross Fitness out of the Box Training LLC.
Second.
Oh, sorry, I'm spacing.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
No.
Opposed? No. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. McCall.
Thank you, nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, give me a call. Thanks.
All right.
Can you move this chair? It's awful hard. I'm trying to see or hear anything. Thank you.
I was waiting for you to say something, Mary.
What?
I couldn't see you. I was waiting for you to say something.
I can see you're peeking around from this side.
So you see the full head.
How's this? Does that work?
For you, Janice.
Me too. I get some alternatives if you want to share dessert.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. No.
Sorry.
Do we want to do anything with that light, or has that been corrected? Sorry, with that reflection at home.
Right.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. More atmosphere.
Ambiance.
Yeah.
No, at home, also she is.
And it doesn't shine off my head as much.
Yeah, me too, but.
And that's it, complain about it.
Thank you. I have 3 agenda items as Mr. Pomprion has amended the agenda. The first item is water use restrictions. If you remember, last August, in the height of the drought, we placed a total water ban in effect. We've been getting a number of calls now that the snow's finally melted. Can people start getting their lawns ready and their gardens ready? So the current drought status is a drought advisory, which basically means get your ducks in a row in case it gets worse. We're hoping it gets better. So I reviewed the water use restriction regulation that the town has, and I'm making a recommendation that we implement water use restrictions a little different. Every year we typically have done no non-essential outdoor water use between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. In this year, I'd like to implement that in addition to the odd-even watering, which means if you live at house 13, you only water on the odd days of the month, and if you live at house 12, you are on the even days. And I'd like to implement that for the whole season, unless the drought returns to a more critical level. And so I just would like approval from the board to implement that, and if so, we'll give the sign company a new order and start putting up some signs around town. And we'll also do the normal notification.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the water use restriction regulations as outlined by Superintendent Wetton.
Second.
Any more questions? Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Good idea. Good to get on top of it early.
The next item, I just got these in the email last week. Our Chapter 90 contract is a 10-year contract, and it expires in the end of June. So Mass DOT is having all the towns sign new contracts for 10 years. And so it's their standard contract that we sign for anything we do with Mass DOT.
Is that what it's for?
It's for the Chapter 90 money, yes.
For Mass DOT?
Right.
Oh, okay.
And that would be for signature by the chair. But then we also have, and I have 3 copies of that, then we also have a form that is the contractor authorized signatory listing. And so I put down that contracts could be signed by, and it depends on the amount, by Mr. Pomprion and by the 3 members of the board. But there is a certification that says, certify that I'm the president, chief executive officer, chief fiscal officer, corporate clerk, or legal counsel for the contractor, and they're basically calling us the contractor. So I'm not sure if that's Mr. Pomprion as the chief executive or as the chair of the board. I don't think it really matters from Mass DOT's point of view. It's just certifying that these people at this time are the signatories, and this has to be notarized.
I would say, Robert, are you fine with signing that stuff?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we've done it both ways, and it's acceptable to Mass DOT, whether it's the chair of the board or the town administrator, they've accepted it.
Anybody?
Doesn't matter to me either way, as long as it's valid.
Okay. You do a motion?
All right, so just on the standard contract and not that other thing?
It's
or-
the Mass DOT standard contract form for Chapter 90.
Okay. I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen accept the Mass DOT standard contract form as presented by Mr. Watson, signed by Robert, signed by the town administrator? Or this-
The contract is
this
signed by the chair.
Sorry, that's
and-
what I was asking. Okay, signed by the chair.
Moved and seconded, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And do you need a
So-
motion on the second one?
I don't believe so.
No? Okay.
No, just, and I have 3 copies. They require 2, but I figured we'd get an extra in case it gets.
Are they
lost
all
in
there?
They're all 3 there.
Yeah, okay.
And then the third item, this was kind of fell through the cracks for our East Main Street water main project. I have a change order, number 4, which, what happened was we originally submitted this with change order number 3, and then USDA didn't approve it, so it got redone, and I didn't realize that we hadn't executed change order number 4. This was for the work we did on Fletcher Street. We have appealed that decision to the USDA because it really should be funded under the project. They gave us verbal approval on it, and then something happened, and someone said, oh, that wasn't part of the original scope of the project. And so we do have a hearing coming up. It hasn't been scheduled yet. But anyways, the contractor was hoping to get his money for this. It was replacing the water main on Fletcher Street. It's $78,200.50. It's for approval by the chair.
I think I'm still trying to write down the amount.
Yeah, no, good, because I.
78,000.
Okay.
250 cents. $200.50.
Oh, 200.
78200.5.
All right. And this is, okay. Change order number 4, you said?
Yes,
All
for
right.
Cedrone Corporation.
Cedrone?
Cedrone.
Going.
Cedrone.
All right. I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen execute change order number 4 with Cedrone in the amount of $78,200.50 for the East Main Street project. Signature by the chair.
For a second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thanks, thanks, Mark.
Mark, is the East Main Street, I'm sorry, going to start? I mean, I know there's a lot more work to be done up there. I know we
Well,
got
really, all
Pleasant
they
Street.
have to do is just kind of clean up and find out paving.
I'll give you these now and I'll notarize this tomorrow.
So, now that hot top plants are open and things, they're going to be scheduling that, but I haven't heard exactly when he's scheduling.
For the East Main Street.
Well, the East Main Street water main, the next phase of the project, redoing the road, is still in the DOT review stage.
Oh, so we
So
can
we
be
haven't heard when that's scheduled.
Okay.
All right, they started back on Pleasant Street, I see. Yeah.
And for those listening at home, we're also going to be starting next week some drainage work on Washington Street in front of the high school, from about Coolidge down. So that should be a pretty quick project. What we're trying to do is get the drainage system up to snuff so we can pave that road this summer. And that's why the gas company's out there also.
Yeah, that kind of did a lot of potholes up on that trench.
Yeah.
Poor job.
So what we're gonna do with them, I didn't get up there to see how the potholes were, but they're gonna pay for some of the paving costs for that we're doing.
So, all right. Robert?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So the next item, obviously, is the final approval of the FY18 budget and approval of the ATM warrant. As the board and the public is aware, I should say ultimately the final approval of both is subject to town meeting. However, this is for preparation for the warrant. So as I mentioned to the board, we'll respectfully be looking for your approval of the warrant tonight. It will have to go to print by noon on Friday in preparation for it to be mailed to all of the residents. If it's the board's pleasure, we'll start with the budget. I've asked Ms. Cabri to come to the table to go over the FY18 budget. I think that the method we've used in the past, and also that we use at town meeting as we go through it, maybe if selectmen have questions or comments, say pass. It's up to you, Mr. Chair, pass, and then we'll come back and go on to those, and then we'll do the same for the warrant. So with that, through you, Lisa.
Yes, Colleen's going to start a PowerPoint presentation that I have. Yeah, you might have to hit these a few times. So this is just sort of a snapshot like we did early during this budget season. So you see that all the revenues, 26,751, equal the expenses and savings of 26,751. And state aid, this uses the House number, the most recent. I think I got an email on April 11th that they had voted. And then tax levy, local receipts 1.7, free cash 789, which is reduced, but we knew that because we already voted approximately half of that at the fall town meeting. And then the enterprise impact of 800,000, less charges, and those charges are up from previous years due to two reasons. One being the approximately $139,000 of snow and ice removal deficit spending that has to be raised next year. And two is the farm cleanup, the emergency spending on farm cleanup. So there's $203,000 there.
You say this is this the same as what we saw last week in our by-board?
Yes, I've updated it for the House budget, but yes.
And it's the House budget.
Yeah. So, and then we'll go through the omnibus, but right now the omnibus on the expense side is $13,500,000. School assessments, $11 million for Ayer Shirley. Neshoba Valley actually went down by about $100,000, $632,000. We are committed to our second year of OPEB funding that was recommended by the OPEB committee of $300,000. Stabilization funding of $354,000, and then raise articles, which include, these aren't really raise, I'm sorry, the capital asset articles are actually recommended to come from capital stabilization, not, so they should be listed differently. My mess up. So, but the total of them is $106,000. UDAG replenishments that you have spoken of earlier, Gary, this brings us up to balance before this evening's vote of $328,000, and all other raised articles of about $97,000. And the key factors between last year's omnibus and this year's omnibus and expense articles is the Ayer Shirley increase of $274,000 and the proposed new town planner position of $75,000, which also sort of kind of got mentioned earlier.
And Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, for the record, that request is for me, the town administrator, the new town planner position at $75,000. I'd like to speak to that at the appropriate time.
So on the next, I'm not sure you really want to go through all these line items. These are the revenue projections and how we get to amount available for appropriation. So state aid actually increased over the previous year. And most of that was in unrestricted local aid. Taxes are increasing also, but I have a breakdown on what that is. The overall percentage increase is 4% for taxes. Local receipts increased pretty much across the board and to a total of 8.4%. And we spoke of before, free cash is much less, but that's because of the fall town meeting. Hopefully we don't continue to spend the amount that's certified at the end of the fiscal year at the fall town meeting. It's not a good trend.
Radio project? Was that the major expense? Fall town meeting?
There was a bunch of
Police
UDAG
radio
replenishments.
project, was that-
That was one of them,
One of them,
phase
okay.
one, and there were some
And-
others.
Yeah, I knew there was a couple of big ones.
Other is basically overlay surplus, that's what prior years, the assessors reserve against what may be collected against taxes. So they're actually releasing some prior years based on what they know to be true, to the tune of $283,000. Then, of course, the enterprise impact, which does have some, that number is a little, hopefully a little fluent right now because we're still waiting for fees for solid waste from the superintendent. And then the charges that we spoke of. So it brings us down to $26,751,000, which is about 1.4% over last year's amount available. So you can click again. This is how the taxes break down. So you start with the tax base, that's last year's tax base plus whatever is in unused levy capacity for last year, times 2.5%, plus the new growth, which is exceptional this year, is basically due to personal property growth at the power at New England Hydro. We're still trying to build that unused levy capacity, so right now we're suggesting at 1.5 million. And what that means is we could actually be taxing the taxpayers up to $1.5 million more. So it's a well-balanced budget, and it helps provide maybe some cushion for the future in case there's not as much new growth. So we have a subtotal of about $21 million, and then these are existing debt exclusions. If the new debt exclusions that are on the ballot and also in warrant articles, if they are passed, then that number will increase, but so will the debt on the omnibus. So, and that will roll in based on whatever that amount is. And then there's the debt on the schools. And this is I just wanted to show you quickly why the increase in the charges. And you can see it's snow and ice. We had nothing last year. Emergency spending for the farm cleanup, $203,000, which has to be raised on the recap. So now we get to the nitty gritty. The omnibus budget. The selectmen's, where you see these budgets, some of them had one-time expenses in the prior year, and so it may not look like it's as much of an increase. Rest assured, all the 2% increases have been calculated, and this one actually includes a 2% increase for the selectmen's stipends.
I'd like to pass them out.
And it's very minor, and then it also includes not only, it's reduced by $9,500 for furniture, which was a one-time cost last year, but it's increased by some additional money for Chapter 61 requests. There's about $3,000 in there for that. There's a little bit more extra money for training.
So as the board just quickly is aware, we've had quite a bit of issues recently, and they're resurfacing again with the Chapter 61, and as the board is required as part of that process of Chapter 61, you have to do appraisals. We'll talk about some other appraisals later tonight. One of the challenges we've had perennially is that there's been no appropriation to do the appraisals in a timely manner. In the case of 61, we have 30 days. So I put in the selectmen's budget $3,000 for FY 18 to cover some appraisals in a timely manner if they need to be done. And on the town council budget, if it had not been for some of the recent property enforcement, the budget was running actually slightly under. There's a slight increase of $5,000. That seems to be an accurate number. I think at the appropriate time after town meeting, the board will need to discuss, again, re-examine the overall property enforcement strategy, but there is a slight increase, but I think that is a relatively accurate number. But as I always say on the insurance and town council, we do our best, but we never know what's going to come up in the year ahead.
Right.
So then there's town clerk, which is about a $1,400 increase, basically salary increases. The moderator also has the 2%, because he's an elected official, stipend of $10. Parking tickets, yeah, that's an appropriation that's overseen by the Selectmen's office as well, Carly in particular, and she asked for this minor increase. Public buildings, Dan has included about $16,000 of one-time expenses and renovations on the various buildings, including, I think it's resealing and, what do you call it?
It includes the striping in resealing of the parking lot at the fire and police.
And
It includes
police,
the
the-
recarpeting of the dispatch and admin offices in the police.
Yep, that's
department.
4,000, and then there's also a split AC for the 911 computer room, 6,500. So he has some one-time expenses, which account for most of that increase, and then some slight increases in utilities and, of course, wages. Registrations and elections have decreased because there are fewer elections this year than there were in FY17.
No presidential.
No presidential, that's a big one. And postage, a minor increase to reflect actual expenses. The other two are level funded, as well as 4th of July celebration and holiday lights, all level funded. Communications Committee, that line at the request of Robert, the town administrator, has, that $700 has now been moved under IT. So you'll see an offsetting increase in IT. And then the personnel board is just level funded. So basically the 29 grand is mostly due to the increases in the buildings, public buildings. The accountant's budget, the biggest impact here besides wages is every other year, we either have to have an actuarial review or a GASB 45 review. And one year I almost forgot because basically I oversee both of those. And so I decided it'd probably be better, safer for the town if we just build it into the budget to begin with. So this increase, $8,400 of that has to do with the GASB 45 review. That's required this upcoming year. Last year, it was this FY17. It was the arbitrage review. So that's the bulk of that. Payroll and benefits is he had some additional money for.
There were two items I requested that the manager put in that line. One is a small amount of funding for looking at reclassifications in the event of an appeal or so forth, to have an outside source. And the second is funding to look at, as we will discuss in great detail at the town meeting, is looking at the whole, some of the issues with the compensation study that was done before. That's the bulk of the
Yes.
two requests. They're minor, but in money-wise, in the payroll and benefits line.
Right, computer support, just a minor increase there. The assessors actually reduced some of their consulting fees because they're not in the year that triggers additional costs because additional consulting is needed. So I think it's every 3 to 5 years.
Every 3 years.
Yeah. And then the collector and both the treasurer and collector's lines were just pretty much increased due to, wage increases. Health insurance, our FY18 budget is based on what we know that premium increases to be for FY18. Let me see something. Maya has voted these already, and so Kevin has just rolled the increases into Minuteman. Into the budget for, it's minimal. There may be more significant next year, for fiscal 19 is what they're saying. Property and liability insurance, this is as per a quote from Maya, as well as the workers' comp and the police and fire accident. Carly's working on a new quote for that could save the town significant money, but she's in the middle of having town council review it.
On the property and liability, as the board is aware, some of that adjustment, there are two structures in this upcoming year, the old former fire station and the Advocates building, which will be coming off of that, so that will be a favorable adjustment there.
The health insurance, is the retirees included in that?
Yes.
Okay.
Unemployment, now for the past couple of years, especially since we are no longer, the school is no longer a department, the town is better off just paying as you go rather than a percentage of the wages. So the past treasurer made that change. And, we base our budget on what we know to be true at that particular point. And Kevin has reviewed this, and based on what we know right now, he's reduced it by $15,000 to allow for one claim, I guess. Right now, there's no claims. The retirement assessment is a straight assessment. It actually went down. The debt principal is going down a little bit. Now, these are the two lines, the debt and the interest, where the debt exclusions, if they're passed, would get rolled into them because they're all general fund monies. They're all general fund projects. Tax titles level funded. FICA, Medicare, Kevin has requested an additional $8,000, and that's actually based on what's actually happening. Past actuals, FY17 actuals, that looks to be a good number. Finance Committee, level funded. The Reserve Fund, which, as you remember, was reduced by the Finance Committee last annual town meeting, and then we increased it back up to $150,000 at the special town meeting. I think it should stay at the $150,000. So that's that. Police Department. So they're a fairly significant increase because they're one of our biggest departments of $180,000, most of which is wages. And let me get to them. $143,000 consists of wage increases, and also the cost of a cruiser increases of almost $11,000. And part of the reason is they headed away from the sedans and into SUVs, which are more expensive. And also the computers have to be retrofitted, and that's pretty expensive as well. The fire department, I don't know if anyone has any questions. I'm going too fast here. Okay, the fire department increase of $74,000. About 72 of that is from wages, and then there's the other $4,000 of carpeting in the training room. So Dan's picking up half of it under public buildings. Fire department's picking up the other half under their budget. The building inspection department, prior to this year, and actually prior to the fall town meeting, our building inspection was only part-time. Our building inspector was a part-time. Now he's full-time, so we're paying him a full-time salary. So this $17,000 increase consists mostly due to the fact 17 of it basically is headed to a full-time inspector. And the town has actually voted that a few times in the past, and it hadn't happened. Emergency management, minor increase. Animal control also, that's just wage, minor increase, 2%. Animal inspector, level funded, and the tree warden, again, he's an elected official, so that would be a 2% stipend increase, $119. Public Works increased about $45,000 in addition to wages. This also includes under stormwater, $55,000 of culvert replacements, which Mark had originally requested year over year for his 5-year capital. And since it's year over year, just like we did with the cruiser, we pulled it out of capital and into the operating budget. Snow and ice removal. We recently had a buy-board meeting, and it was actually suggested and agreed that Mark had asked for $264,000, I believe, but the buy board felt that $300,000 would be more appropriate. There's only been maybe 1 year since I've been here that we didn't spend, the full amount of what was approved. And it's a separate appropriation, so if there is money left over, it will close to free cash. Street lighting account, Mark's requesting about $4,000 less. I'm hoping that means, because we're owning the streetlights now and we're gonna retrofit them, that we'll see some additional savings in utilities. And then Care for Grace is level funded. So Council on Aging, this is, their increase is basically the wages of the people down there. Board of Health, same thing. Neshoba Board of Health, that's an assessment, comes right from the Neshoba Board of Health. And they've been having, for the last couple of years, some minor increases. The Parks Department, not only does this include like the wage increase for the director, but the minimum wage increased in the state. And in order to obtain and retain lifeguards and his part-time staff, he had to bump the salaries up, so we bumped both of those lines up by about 10%.
Yeah.
So as the board's aware, it's been sort of a practice of the Parks Commission, whenever the minimum, they want to be about $1 more an hour than the minimum wage to be competitive. So as Ms. Capri mentioned, the adjustment in January, they adjusted accordingly.
Yeah, that accounts for about $5,000 of that. So then Pop Warner and Little League, which is sort of our donation to those activities, because the Parks does not get involved in that, is level funded. I'm having a hard time finding the contacts for those organizations because they turn over, so I'd appreciate if anyone could help me with that. Veterans Agent, minor increase. And Veterans Benefits has increased. As you know, he's asked for a reserve fund transfer, which hopefully the Finance Committee will meet tomorrow and approve, of $26,000. So this increase is to reflect how FY17's actuals are running.
That's so uneven. That bounces up and down.
It does, but it does.
Yeah,
It's a lot has to do with the economy.
Right.
In the library, this is just straight from their requested amount, $16,000 increase, and as you know, in order to stay certified and be able to share books with other communities and so forth, you have to keep that books line in their budget at a certain level, and this is part of the calculation.
Sorry.
And then, I'll say disabilities is level funded. Conservation, this increase reflects the fact that in 2017, the conservation agent didn't become full-time until it was voted after the fall town meeting, so roughly in November. But FY18 is a full year. Prior to that, it was part-time, so we wouldn't have funded a full year when part of the year was already gone in FY17. So now that increase is for the entire year, plus, the normal union increase. Economic and community development, which is like Alan's department, is basically funded by UDAG economic development, and this part of the omnibus. So basically that's an increase in wages. Now, here's the new one. This is a town planner, $75,000, which is, as per Robert's request, added to the budget. Historic Commission, level funded. MRPC, that's also an assessment, it's a minor increase of $58. Management support, pretty much wage increases right there. And information technology does have some other increases. Let's see. It includes $4,000 for services to archive social media, such as Facebook and Twitter websites, and the $700 that was moved from the communications line, and $5,500 for a ClearGov application.
So as the board can appreciate, as Cindy began some years ago with archiving the email, which is a best practice, it's necessary to begin to archive the social media, the town's Facebook, and other social accounts, both from a security point of view, but also for the record, and it's a best practice. we will do a presentation on the ClearGov, which also Cindy found is a new way of reaching out to the public, but also internally of representing financial information in a really sort of dynamic graphical platform, and there's a lot of applications that could be used there. We recently had a meeting on that as well.
So just, this is a summary. It just shows you FY18, FY16. So, I mean, to no surprise, the public safety is, you know, the most increase. They're pretty significant budgets to begin with, and the wages, you know, it's 90%
It's also
wages.
two new positions as well, correct?
There's the 4 positions that were authorized from last year, so you'll see that roll into some of these. And also, Amanda kind of went through their expenses that hadn't been done in probably since I've been here, and scrubbed down the expenses to increase some of the amounts that were budgeted. Luckily for the police department, they've had turnover, so they don't typically spend all of their salary line, so they could use that money to cover expenses, but they've made that adjustment in this budget cycle.
All right, so we have one pass.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
you're not done?
I'm done.
Oh. You had,
Well, we were talking about the salaries for elected officials,
yeah.
the 2% for the Board of Selectmen. I realize it's only 2%. It looks like a minuscule amount, but I mean, really, do we really need a raise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the by board is suggested 2,600.
Mr. Chairman, so it reflected on Article 2 of the warrant, not to jump ahead. The last time that, at least for the selectmen and the assessors, the last time that the stipend used to reflect sort of the cost of living and so forth was in 2012 was the last time it had been adjusted. So on that line, I mean, the treasurer, town clerk, and tax collector are the full-time, if you will, positions. Those were recommended for 2%. And Ms. Cabri and I, and this is up to you to decide, and actually ultimately town meeting can adjust it down. We just put it in as a cost of living adjustment consideration, but it's up to what the board wants to do, and then ultimately it's up to town meeting can vote it down, obviously decrease it, but not increase it.
When I was first elected, it was double.
Right.
And no offense to this, and that was for a board who threw each other under the bus and had a lot of issues.
I mean, considering we've gone down to 3 people, there seems to be a little bit more work with 3 instead of 5. So, I mean,
And truthfully,
I think it should be reinstated where it was, but
for me, and this is totally my choosing, so I'm not complaining, it cost me money to be a selectman, honestly. I left work today at 5:40 and flew home, showered, and got here a little late. That's why I'm always late. So, I mean, taking time during the day to phone calls and emails and at night, I mean, it definitely has. And I'm not complaining, I'm just saying that would be my reason. And I know there's a lot of people that'll make a big deal out of it, but I think there are a lot of things that go on. I think there's a lot more responsibility for the 3 of us now than there was previous.
$140.
The year? What's that, like $3 a week?
For all of it.
Yeah, like I said, it's not a big amount, just,
Yeah.
you know, with all the, you know, salaries going up and all the things that, you know, we've got going on and everything. Just even ask for 2% on our little stipend.
I mean, it's always been the same, I'm not saying that's right, but the COLA for the assessors and the Board of Selectmen have always been whatever the craft, or whatever the non-union people, or whatever the union people get. Until we decided to help out the budget. and
Yes,
not take that
2012.
increase, because didn't we go zero with
Free cash,
the unions? And
because the free cash was
the
negative.
unions
Yeah.
took a zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
In
right.
solidarity with that, we decided.
We all did.
not to take.
Yeah.
So, I don't have a problem with the 2%.
No, I mean, personally, I have no problem paying any elected board some stipend. I think it would possibly generate some interest because in all boards, but it's not the discussion, just throwing that out there.
Did you have something?
I do not to this, but I mean, we can,
Okay.
you can rediscuss it when we get to the warrant article or.
Okay.
Yep. So, members of the board, can you put up the planner side? Members of the board, as I know the board can appreciate.
This?
Yeah. Okay. Municipal government does not operate in a vacuum, and it is constantly evolving and changing, and sometimes its timing is not always ideal. For the record, let the record reflect that this is a professional request I'm putting forth to the Board of Selectmen to respectfully consider moving forward in the omnibus before town meeting, and ultimately let the residents of Ayer town meeting debate and decide ultimately on this. Let me also also acknowledge that when I issued the FY18 budget directive, as per the Board of Selectmen, we said about there being no new positions. That was back in November, December. However, since then, I want to offer some following points for your consideration. The town of Ayer adopted, if you will, zoning and planning in the late 1960s, early 1970s. From 1970 to the present, with the exception of a brief 2-year period from approximately 2008 to the beginning of 2010, there was a professional planner on staff.
Was it a budgeted position or
Yes.
just someone that had?
It was budgeted position. That did not work out, and it went away. Since I've come here, and even before me, and I know the board's aware of this debate and discussion about the planner and planning has been on the forefront of the town's debate and dialogue for some time. Over the last 6 months, it's become increasingly clear to me that the town is at a disservice by not having a full-time professional planner. And as the board is aware, when I say full-time professional planner, an individual with the appropriate education and certifications. Mr. Minoyan does have that training and certification, but he is the Economic and Community Development Director and has more than a full plate, if you will, as anybody would in that position. What do I mean by an increasing need, and specifically over the last 6 months? First, the zoning bylaw, and let me say this, and this is not a reflection, I want to stress this as well, this is not a reflection of the elected planning board. Currently, past members or so forth, is not a criticism, this is observation. They are elected volunteers, there is no professional staffing that board. The zoning bylaw has languished since 2009. When the last master plan was put into place in 2005, I would argue that almost 65% of the plan required an update and implementation of the zoning bylaw. That didn't happen, and we are still, for those who are working on the current master plan, at a disadvantage. The zoning bylaw has just languished since 2009 because there is not a dedicated professional driving that helm.
Correct.
Secondly, the town subdivision regulations, respectfully, are a disaster. You can ask the DPW superintendent, you can ask the economic development director, you can ask myself. The subdivision regs are not only need of update, but a professional planner would be the regulatory authority to enforce those regulations. In other words, if subdivision standards aren't met and so forth, yes, some of that falls to the building department and so forth, but a professional planner would be on that. We're talking all of the things that define the streetscape in these subdivisions, other regulations that make for not only good projects, but increased valued projects that also increase the tax base. As I mentioned, there is no regulatory official, professional official on the planning arm, if you will, of our town government. The Geographic Information System, the GIS system, Ayer is still behind in the development of that system. I want to give kudos to the Department of Public Works and to the Assessors Department and to Ms. Knox and the IT Department for taking it as far as they can. But in any municipality of Ayer's stature, GIS, the planner, would play a key role in moving that forward. I think that our three departments that I mentioned have taken us as far as one could get without getting to the next evolution. The master plan process by statute is supposed to be actually driven by the planning board. Because of the situation of the planning board and there was no professional planner, we took on, myself, the administration of the Board of Selectmen, took on the master plan process. In terms of grant applications, there are many grant applications in which a planner could also have assisted us with. Now we have, I will say, and this is kudos to all of our department heads and to this board for supporting us, we have an excellent track record in terms of grants, but I think that we could even do more in a more efficient way with this professional individual. The solar projects that have come to Ayer, there are several. And just by timing tonight, I think Mr. Diskin's remarks under public input have illustrated the potential negative impacts of not having a professional individual dealing with the planning and the solar components. Both Solar 1 and Solar 2, which is about to be underway, as illustrated tonight, and that was just the tip of the iceberg, have fundamental problems. Those problems have fundamental costs to the town. Again, conservation is doing their part. The Zoning Board of Appeals is doing their part. And I'm not saying, again, that with the planning board, there's no professional individual with that skill set driving that bus. But the solar issue...
You're being nice.
Pardon?
You're being very nice. They punt
So the
it.
solar piece...
They punt.
The solar
Punt.
piece
Punt.
concerns me. Okay, the solar piece concerns many in the town, and that is not going to go away. I know this board is very concerned both on medical and retail marijuana. As we know, on medical marijuana, when that came to Ayer, there was no, again, professional expertise driving that, and medical marijuana still isn't properly zoned or addressed. And we're now dealing with retail marijuana, which has fallen to the Board of Selectmen. Again, in many of the communities that have this further ahead than we do, again, they have a professional planner that is working on these issues. In fact, I had professional planners here from the MRPC last week talking to us about some options. As mentioned, Superintendent Wetzel, and you've been provided with three recommendations in support of this, one from assessing, one from DPW, one from economic development. There are a whole bunch of infrastructure projects related to traffic, street improvements, our parking project, the Main Street traffic plan, the streetscape program, that planning expertise could greatly augment and take us again to the next level there. Additionally, we know that with the construction of the surface of the parking project, we've already identified the need to address Park Street and Main Street. Mr. Minoyan and this board, I know even before him, is very concerned about the condition and the aesthetics of the corridors entering the town. The Rotary, West Main, Park Street, all are in need of a planning analysis. Finally, the Chapter 61 and the remaining land issues. Though Ayer is rapidly approaching build-out, some could argue that when we rapidly approach build-out
No such thing.
is when you more than ever need a planner to A, have a professional watchdog on your remaining land, but also you get into a whole nother evolution of redevelopment and development. The Chapter 61 land issues alone are a labyrinth of knowledge and opportunities. We have Chapter 61 issues as this board, and I think, again, the Board of Selectmen have taken us to a high point in that evolution, but we just got another request on a 61 issue. We have a request before the town, an opportunity to buy another 4.5 acres, which we'll talk about later. Again, there isn't that professional planner that's looking at the whole piece. So I am concerned because I think that we're in excellent shape, and that's a kudos to everybody here, to our departments. But I think that if we want to take Ayer, now we're in the 21st century, to the next evolution of the things Alan's been talking about, the things that would move the town even further for the betterment of the taxpayers, this is the direction we need to go. Secondly, I am very concerned of potential legal liabilities and costs without having a professional with the expertise at the helm. Some of these errors that have been discussed tonight, and I won't get into detail, are extremely concerning in terms of not only the costs potentially to the town, but costs to property values, costs to habitat, and the overall look of the town, if you will. Lastly, with respect to, again, if you look at the team that the board has put together and the people that we have, that's the one really weak link, if you will, because there isn't that professional person with the planning to support the planning board, if you will. I understand that it's $75,000. How did I come up with that number? To get a planner, a full-time professional planner, the salary range is between $68,000 and $74,000. I don't in any way, and I say this to taxpayers, look at that as a small request. There's other folks' concerns, as you know, you said no positions in the beginning of the budget process. It hasn't, the budget process in the 11th hour to put this forward. I'm respectfully requesting that the board at least consider putting this before town meeting, let the people debate it, decide it, we'd have a brief presentation and move forward. I think to have to wait another entire year is fundamentally concerning, especially on some of these issues that continue to brew. We're not going to be moving forward in this area of the government in the year ahead. And I think now is the time, respectfully, to strongly consider this request. And I appreciate your consideration, and I'm open to any questions that you may have.
I'm all for it. I stated it 2 years ago, that I felt it was a necessary position. It makes sense, as everything you outlined. It also makes sense to have someone here full-time. I mean, I don't obviously deal with, Mark, you can probably speak to this. There's issues with subdivisions and stuff. You only have a committee, and this is no fault of the planning board. They meet every 2 weeks like we do, correct? Once a month, sorry. So, there's even furthers my case there.
I was against it initially. But it'd be nice to have a liaison between planning, conservation, and the Board of Selectmen to keep everybody in the loop, and have, and the departments, and have someone, bringing forth some good ideas and putting it together. Again, like I mentioned in the Bible, it's like, if you get the right person, it's good. If you don't get the right person, it's not going to help you at all.
Correct.
But I mean, you guys are starting to become spread thin. Not that you don't make enough money, you all do. But, except for you, Chief Murray. Whoa. So, I mean, I think it's a good idea. Long overdue, probably. But yes, Mary.
Will this be an exempt position, and this person would not be working for the planning board? This would be a department head, but an exempt, non-union.
Through the chair, Yes, so the position would not be in the union, and the position would be a department head level position under the Board of Selectmen that would obviously staff the planning board, but will not be under the planning board. That was a structural problem, and we're moving away from that. And secondly, Selectman Luker, you're absolutely correct. We will have to put together the appropriate search process and so forth. It's all in getting the right fit, and I think we need to be very, as we always are, but really selective in finding the right fit.
Well, one thing I guess that was a little surprising is that, you know, finding out about this like now, the 11th hour, when we're getting ready to do the warming. So that, I think it would have been nice if we'd been able to discuss this a little sooner. A little bit surprised. I think it might be a good idea. I've been kind of lukewarm about it, and just, 2 years ago, in some research that you did around towns, you found that a lot of towns didn't have one and didn't seem to need one, but I think everything you've outlined does show a need for it, so, yeah. And so far, we've had really good luck getting some really good people, so I think we'll have, I think we can continue that trend, so.
And another thing I hear a lot, built out does not exist. It does not exist. I know that there's members of the planning board that said, we're almost built out. Well, I could buy,
The state uses that term.
but I could buy air moving and storage, and just as an example, as a big building on Central Ave, tear it down and put whatever I want there, you know, within reason.
You mentioned that in our Bible.
Yeah, I know one of the parcels you're going to bring up later about open space has a proposal for 140B units as a possibility. So, I mean, that adds to, you name it, the schools, it adds to traffic, it adds, I mean, you can name all sorts of things if it's not followed correctly, especially with something like a 40B. We don't have the people that know how to deal with that.
Sadistic?
I just wanted to add something to what Mr. Pombrian mentioned, if you don't mind. So I'm relatively new at this, going to the meetings, and let's say in the last 8 weeks primarily, I've been attending as many meetings as I can, and planning and
Whenever you want to volunteer, let us know.
So far does a terrific job.
As an attendee, as a concerned citizen, not a member of any organization. But one thing I did notice, I do have experience as a developer. I worked for developers for 25 years. We own big commercial properties. Most of the submittals that I made were in the town of Andover, way before those boards. And again, to follow up and not to criticize, but I noticed that something that I thought was unusual, and this I think bears your point to the planner, is it appeared to me, only appeared to me, that plans were presented at the board meetings, and that would be the first time a plan was looked at, versus my experience in submitting drawings, would you meet with a professional as the plans went in and kind of shake it out, or maybe do a preliminary plan. That's the opportunity for the planning board to get an update or pre-examination of the project that's potentially going to be presented to them, rather than putting them on the spot as the plans landed.
Right.
They have to react more or less at that point, because they have a timetable. The applicant has many supporting laws that help them. And I felt that the boards were on the defensive a little bit, only because the applicant had the understanding of the project much more efficiently
than they did.
That's,
Makes
and
sense.
the other comment I wanted to add, if possible, was there are a number of things that are being considered in changing, updating the laws around the state, pertaining to subdivisions, pertaining to 61, pertaining to green communities, what we talked about. So things never stop changing either, and it's hard to expect a volunteer board or volunteers to be able to keep up with those current changes, and that's where you need a professional who studies it, goes through courses, takes the updates, and understands the process, and then can pass that on to the board.
You're going to be at town meeting, so you can say that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
And I'd also like that, I supported Robert, that, we try our best to kind of do the planning, but I'm an engineer, so I know how to build things, and, how the curb has to be a 6-inch reveal. But, we live in these places, in the environment, and there's a lot of stuff going on with planning these days, with smart cities, with the new urbanism, more livable cities, green communities, that these planners are all trained in. And, you know, I'm picking up bits and pieces of it, Robert gets bits and pieces, and we kind of all try to incorporate that in what we're doing, but we're not really professionals at that, you know?
Right.
Leave the water mains and sewer stations to me.
Right.
And let the planner decide what we want the community to be.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're there for support, which you should be, and not to be the main person doing it.
And pretty soon, we're gonna have a lot of cars with no drivers in them going up and down Main Street.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know what to do with that, too.
Can't wait.
The Jetsons, think the Jetsons, you know, the flying cars.
Okay. Thank you for your consideration.
Is there a placeholder on the warrant for that, or do we need a motion?
It's
to put that
wrapped
in?
in the envelope.
Oh, okay, that's right, okay.
So, lastly, before we get to the warrant, in the interest of time, I just wanted to, put that slide back on the question.
Yeah.
Again, I want to thank everybody's continued efforts to get the word out about the importance of the election on the 24th. Polls are open the 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. In addition to the elected races, there are these 4 debt exclusion questions. We're going to be putting out some more social media updates this week leading into it. I know that Selectman Livingston was at the transfer station passing out some information to get to those groups. I appreciate that. We have some flyers that are out there, and it's not telling people what to do either way, but to know that we need them to vote, and these are the questions. So I just, Mr. Chair, real quick, since this is being broadcast and so forth, as just a reminder.
And since we've been accused of not putting everything out there, go ahead.
I actually addressed that with someone at the transfer station.
I would like to mention that too when you're done about the capital committee.
Yeah.
So, real quick, as everybody's aware, there are 4 projects for debt exclusion on the ballot. The West Main Street Bridge replacement at $1.2 million. There's the estimate, we'll get to the further detail on the impact. The second item is the DPW Operations Center, $900,000. The DPW Highway Garage, $750,000. The Parks Department Storage and Maintenance Building at $600,000, for a total of all projects at $3.4 million. The next slide. As you can see through, and I want to thank Lisa Gabri for all of her work here, the key number, not that all of these are key numbers, but all the way over to the right, estimated impact on the average residential taxpayer. All 4 questions pass the ballot, and all 4 questions pass town meeting on the 8th. They have to pass both. The impact one time, I want to emphasize one time, because we've heard it is not an override. That's out there. This is not an override. That's a permanent adjustment. One time is the average residential taxpayer. There's a $16 impact on average. And you can see on the bottom the note from Ms. Gabri on that. So again, if you go to the town's website, there's all the information on all 4 projects. That's special thanks to Mark Wetzel and Jeff Thomas on that, Cindy for putting it up and getting it there, Lisa on the numbers. All the info's there. If there are folks that don't use a computer or so forth, please come to Town Hall. We'll provide that on the day of the election. We can't put material in the voting chamber, but down here on the first floor, we'll probably have a table with this information. Again, it doesn't tell people how to vote or what they should vote, but we want everybody to understand the importance of the projects and the cost impact, because it's too important not to have these informed decisions not made.
Well, I'm sorry, Janice, go ahead.
Good.
To speak of the capital committee, because there's certain residents in town who claim they're involved citizens who, again, are in the audience this evening, who like to send out their email comments. And we were accused of being an obscure board, the capital planning committee.
Wow.
Yes.
I responded very quickly. Just to just for the average people, to explain the capital process, it's made up of myself as a selectman, Mary's on the board, and three retired, I believe, residents from town. Yep, and 3 business owners. I include myself in the business owners, Mr. Bernard. We met for 2.5 months,
This year, yes.
every Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Several times with Mark. We went back and forth on projects. As you know how this works. It was fully, and it's been every year. We don't just sit here and say, hand every department head a checkbook. I mean, they come in and explain what they need. Sometimes there's been things, I know there's a piece of equipment that Mark has asked for a couple of years in a row that we kind of moved along, and finally it was to the point where we had to do it. But I take offense to the obscure board that I'm a taxpayer. I pay the same amount of taxes as everybody else does, so I like paying taxes about as much as I like going to the dentist. So, but it's part of the process, and I get offended by the grenade lobber, the email grenade lobbers, who.
For about 18 years, we've had this obscure board. I know, because I've been on it.
I responded in kind, don't worry.
So as Robert said, I was up at the transfer station this weekend, and we gave me 30 flyers, and I managed to get them all out. I was quite exhausted. It was quite interesting. I can tell you that it had a very positive impact. A lot of people were very happy that this was being brought to their attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I did have an opportunity to, not only that, talking to some people and say, oh, and by the way, when you look at the beginning portion of this web address, the ayer.mass.us, I says, you will find all sorts of things, meeting minutes, videos, I says, whatever it is that you need to know. I says, because we do follow the open meeting law. In fact, we are very transparent. So just to repeat what I believe I've said at every town meeting since I've been on the board. We are televised, Comcast Channel 8 every Tuesday night. We are videotaped. It is also then put on the town's Facebook page. It is also on the town's website, and if you go to vimeo.com, you can also Google it. We post our meeting agenda for the Board of Selectmen the Friday prior to the Board of Selectmen meeting. The Board of Selectmen meeting the first and third Tuesday of every month, except occasionally we'll notify you otherwise. The packet that the Board of Selectmen see is also placed on the website. So again, we're kind of telling you everything that we know. And the town administrator also does a meeting summary that he posts to the website and to Facebook. And as was told to me by a few people, you're right, you do follow the open meeting law. And as I stated, it's just some people don't want to look for the information. So we've handed you all the tools. Unless you, the resident, the voter, want to get the information, it's all in your hands. It's one click away, it's one phone call away. It is all there. It is not fake news. So go to the website, find out, watch the videos yourself, read the meeting minutes if you just want a quick highlight. And if you're talking to your neighbor, your friend, if they're not attending, if they're not reading the minutes, if they're not watching the videos, then you might want to just smile and nod and go, and then get the information yourself. The information is all there for you. All you have to do is grab it. And I can tell you, I had quite a few people very happy that at least they had this little flyer in their hand to go, oh, okay, let me get this to the forefront of my thoughts. So, just want to say that everything is there, nothing's being hidden. Don't be a day late and a dollar short.
And just to add, I don't want to discuss this much, but people used to rely on the newspaper for their news. I know when I first moved to town, that's how I found out things. I'd get the Public Spirit every week. That newspaper is a joke. I haven't seen a reporter at our meeting since before Christmas. I know she writes articles. I don't know. I think she just watches the video. They seem to be okay with that. As you know, as a board, I've sent many questioning that because there's a lot of good things and we can discuss it under. But I mean, in a normal town, there'd be a reporter discussing these questions on the front page of the paper.
No. We are the normal towns.
Yeah,
It's
right.
the abnormal towns that
But
they're at.
instead, we'll be getting highlights of towns in soccer, probably on Thursday, whenever it comes out, but because they choose not to come to our meetings, so. Anyway,
I don't want to beat it to death, but, you know, it's more than just the committee, the capital committee. But, I mean, we have financial rules in place.
yeah,
Right. For the betterment of the town. We have a finance person who does a great job keeping everything in order
absolutely.
and saving the town money.
Mhm.
So it's not like we're being, you know, okay, let's ask for this and
Yeah, no, absolutely.
see where it lands.
And I never begrudge anybody for asking. I mean, that's part of the business. You want, you know,
Right,
feel-
absolutely. But it's not like-
absolutely.
It's not like we just flip a coin and
No,
say,
and-
okay, yeah.
And Ms. Cabri, I forgot to mention, is part of that. And there's been many times where, Lisa, you've said, we can't, you know, I mean, we can't afford it, or we can't, you know, we got to look at the numbers and see
Good
how it
input.
works.
Good
Yeah,
input from department heads and everything else.
absolutely.
And that's a key point on building on what Selectman Livingston just said too. Also, all department heads do a monthly report.
That's right.
That's also on the town website, so you can see monthly what your departments.
I would recommend reading them. They're actually, I find them pretty interesting.
So, the next item is the warrant.
Before you get off the subject, since we have sort of the floor, 3 of the 4 debt exclusion questions have to do with the public works. And I'd just like to invite anybody, any citizens who want to have any questions or come down to the office and I'll show them around, walk through what the project's involved, what the need is, what the alternatives are. We don't just sit down and it's like it's, you know, the night before Christmas and I'm writing out my list. We've been vetting these things for a number of years. We put a 5-year plan together.
Yep.
And every year we vet that 5-year plan. So, and I think most of the decisions that we make with respect to the public works are in the best interest of the town and to try to reduce costs and come up with a cost-effective solution. So
Couldn't
if
agree
anyone
more.
has questions, they can feel free to
I told them,
come
I
by.
said, go see you.
All right. So, Mr. Chair, on the warrant, we'll do the
Do you
same.
want an okay on every article and whether we're endorsing or not? Or you
Well,
just want
what-
to wait to the end?
We'll go through them real quick,
Okay.
and people say pass, and
Okay.
then we'll come back. So, we're gonna have a special town meeting warrant at 7 PM for one item, which is to pay prior year bills. This has to do with the police 111F case. There was some remaining prior year bills that require a vote of town meeting, so that'll be at 7 o'clock. Then at 7:05, or anytime after the annual town meeting will start, Article 1 is the town elections. Article 2 are the salaries of elected officials, and the 2% was put there for discussion by the administration. It's up to the board how you want to decide, if you want to put that forth or what have you. Article 3 is the contracting funding for the AFSCME 93 Town Hall Clerical Union contract. I will be prepared also for town meeting. We'll put the MOA on the website, but we'll have a slide for that. Article 4 is the omnibus, which you just reviewed, and again, we'll have a presentation on that. Article 5 is from the Regional School Committee. It's the establishing and appropriating a special education reserve fund. As the board remembers, when they came before you, they were looking to set up this fund, that any excess funding that they may have could be put into this special ed reserve fund. Article 6 is the Regional School District Assessment. Article 7 is the Neshoba Valley Technical Vocational School Assessment. Articles 8 through 11 are the Enterprise Fund articles, which are generally standard every year. As mentioned, we will, by the time the warrant is printed, have the solid waste numbers, but you have the ambulance, sewer, and water. The Articles 12 through 17 are generally the revolving fund articles, and you have them highlighted in yellow because when Town Council sent this back, since then, under the Massachusetts Modernization Act, municipalities are now required to have their revolving funds in the form of a bylaw. So what you'll see after the highlighted, it's article, and of course here we are with the Roman numerals, which we're going to change, but article.
Oh my God, that was awful that night.
So this is, so we're going to take, with your approval, Articles 12 through 17 are going to be removed, and we're going to have, with an explanatory note, where you see it says Article, I don't know what we'll get it'll be the revolving, it'll be a bylaw article to establish the revolving fund.
So once that's done, do these have to be okayed every year in the warrant? You know?
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
No, they're established by bylaw. They can be amended, and the amounts have to be, it's set once it's in bylaw form.
So only the amended amount would have to be addressed at town meeting, if there was an amended amount, correct?
Right, or if you wanted to amend the bylaw to add a fund or take away a fund.
Chief, the just goes.
I have a question on the fire alarm revolving.
Yeah.
One is set out by a bylaw already.
That's true.
Bylaw, the revolving account was a mechanism to use the money.
Okay. The town council always loves to give us, every so often, a last minute surprise.
State of Massachusetts laws their bylaws.
We will make sure,
Expenditure limits must be established annually and prior to July 1. The
Okay.
act eliminates the per board and total limitations on the size of the funds. So we can look at that.
yeah. But we will have a clear explanation for that. And of course, we want to retain all of the mechanisms. I mean, you won't lose your fire alarm fund or the DPW inspection fund. Then you have Article 18, which is the capital budget requests. These are largely the enterprise, largely the enterprise projects. Again, the superintendent will be prepared for a presentation on the actual equipment. Articles 19 through 20.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Articles 19 through 22.
Tonight, or are you talking town meeting?
Yeah.
19 through 22 are the debt exclusions. As I mentioned, if they pass the ballot, they have to pass town meeting. So these are, and we will again have a presentation on those, or material available on those projects.
While I was at the transfer station, I did talk up town meeting. I told people how much fun it is.
Yeah.
This is good.
You'll lose some
So
votes
I
next year.
think a couple people said they might come and see just to see if I'm telling the truth. Like, honestly,
Alright.
it says you gotta
Yeah.
go. I says you can't make it up.
Good time.
Because that's a key point. For what it's worth, we always worry about the election piece of an exclusion, but it also has to pass the town meeting.
Yeah.
Then Article 23 of the capital budget requests article, again, as vetted extensively by the departments and the capital planning committee. Article 24 is the UDAG replenishment article, which, as Ms. Gabri mentioned, not including tonight's 40,000, if approved, replenishes the entire, and it breaks out the amounts. Article 25 is the GASB fund recommended by the OPEB Board of Trustees. As the board is aware, it's $300,000 this year. $133,700 of it is from the meals tax collected, and $166,300 is from free cash. Then you have the raise and appropriate articles. Article 26 is the first year's interest, some general fund borrowing. Obviously, the board's aware the costs associated with borrowing. Article 27 is the funding for the general code review and update services of the town bylaws. As we discussed last time, this is for $20,000 to do the complete professional review, update, and codification of all of the town's bylaws and traffic regulations. Article 28 is the funding for aquatic weed control for town ponds, and $25,000. Article 29 is the Memorial Garden request for $15,000 for additional names, either in the form of a monument
Pass
and or
on that one.
plaque. Pass?
Yeah.
Okay. Article 30, a fire equipment grant match in the amount of $2,794. Article 31 is the stabilization fund as the amount set now, going to stabilization. Then the other business articles, the CPC, Article 32 is their sort of standard article every year in terms of the funding. Article 33 is the community preservation funding of the Peroni Park perimeter walking path in the amount of $72,000. Article 34 is the $20,000 local match for the Ayer Dog Park grant. Article 35 is for $120,000 for the Pleasant Street School generator. Article 36 is a transfer of $12,000 into open space funding. Article 37, and my explanatory note will be here, is the adoption of the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 90, Section 17C. And if there is an objection, if the board wants, I know that Chief Murray can explain and will present on that, but there'll be an explanatory note explaining what that does. It has to do with the speed limits.
This essentially allows our police department more power, right? This is how I read it, without going through the whole state.
Yeah, we don't have to go through Mass DOT to set these.
Okay.
We can't post them at 25, so it'll be close to 25, which means we can't do radar, but we can, from 1 acre to a mile, if you go faster than 25, we can cite you.
Okay. Makes sense.
So on the explanatory note, would you make it as simple as what's in here, as far as
Yes.
the 30,
I was going to use that.
Okay, good.
Okay, yep. And then, as the board is aware, Article 38 and 39 are for the town's solar project. The town, through the DPW, is developing a solar field on the closed landfill site, which is Article 38, and Article 39, which is on a DPW wastewater site. Both articles, if passed, town meeting would authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into the lease agreements for the land. So those will be Article 38 and 39 as developed by council. And then Article 40 is the agreement for payments in lieu of taxes for the solar facility as well. And this is for town meeting to authorize the Board of Selectmen the authority to enter into payments in lieu of taxes for the two land sites.
I got a question on that.
Okay.
What exactly would a payment in lieu of taxes be for a solar field on a transfer station?
I'm sorry, one more time.
What would a payment in lieu of taxes be?
It's not taxes, they're going to hand us.
Well, how could
Gonna
it,
give-
would they be, I mean, it's not their land, right?
They pay, it's basically that they negotiate a property tax type of payment.
Because it's not a taxable, it's a town parcel, so the town essentially is responsible for the taxes, I would assume, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the exact, I've seen a big range of numbers, so I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Mr. Dixon, you know?
Let him finish.
Well, I know, don't quote me on this, but I think that Tom was saying something like the $12,000 range. I don't know if that was one from the assessors here. That was kind of the number that I had in my head, but I'm not positive where that came from.
Okay.
I was just, I noticed, I thought the important part to me was that it was enabling authority for real or personal property taxes. The personal property tax might be where it actually ends up falling, not being the tax.
Right. Yeah.
But wouldn't that be part of the lease negotiation? They'll obviously have that in the lease.
I think that's a separate negotiation. The assessor can clarify it more because he's dealing with it right now the other solar farms in town, so he has a better handle on it. But I just know that when we got the proposals, the developers all had different numbers in there, and the assessors are on top of it.
And does this include future solar fields or just these two?
Just these two.
Yes.
Yeah, just so, to that point procedurally, we're asking town meeting to authorize you, or the authorize Board of Selectmen, to negotiate the leases for both sites. That's 38 is the landfill site, 39 is the wastewater site. Requires town meeting has to authorize the board to negotiate it. And then 40 is also, town meeting has to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into negotiations for the pilot only for these two locations.
If we want to, or will that tell us we have to?
This is just the authorization from town meeting. In other words, it's up to
Because we want the biggest pot, of course.
Well, of course, so I think the key point, we'll put this in, again, the explanatory note and explain at town meeting. I think the takeaway is
Okay.
all three of these articles as town meeting authorizing the Board of Selectmen to negotiate two leases
Mhm.
and a specific pilot.
Okay.
And to entrust, obviously, the board to get,
In obscurity.
yeah.
Yes, good.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing.
Sure.
Can you put like, in like your header or footer, like even the town's website, even to say for further research, go to www.ayer.ma.us?
I don't see why not. You're not
So
telling
you
them.
can put it like in your header, so that it would be
You
on
mean on
every
the front of the
page.
warrant?
Yeah, we'll put something that,
Yeah, so you put it on your header or put it on your footer so that it
Yeah.
would go to
Not telling them how to
each
vote,
page.
though.
Mhm. And what we would, that's a
For
good.
further research, go to,
Yep.
yeah.
And then on some of the explanatory notes where we have specific presentations, we can put the link, you know, with this specific.
That would be great. I know, there are a few out there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
All right, so,
I think he had a pass.
yeah, you did.
Oh, the Capitol, I'm sorry, Memorial Garden.
Mhm.
Mr. Fave came before us, I don't know, 20 times about this. Stated there was gonna be some fundraising, and he may be asking, anybody seen any fundraising or what this thing's gonna cost? Because as far as I can see, it was 20 times at the board, no fundraising, and now we're getting asked to pay for something we don't even know what costs. And I'm not against it.
We don't know what it looks like yet.
Right, so,
So I guess I don't know what was done in between the 20 times of coming here and $15,000.
Mr. Fay came before you on February 7th, seeking your support for a warrant article to fund I'm gonna say a monument and or plaque to add additional veterans, which of course everybody supports.
Of course.
Subsequent to that meeting, I respectfully said to Mr. Fay, I have three requirements. Number one, what is this going to look like? Because it's not just for me, but for town meeting. We need a graphic, an image as to what this looks like appropriately. Two, it has to be designed or engineered by a professional firm. And third, in terms of installation, we have got to coordinate that with the facilities department. You know, we have to coordinate it. I went to a very recent Memorial Garden Committee meeting. The amount they're requesting is $15,000. They are going to raise funds as well. They're having a press event here on May 1st, Monday, May 1st.
Press event.
May 1st or is it May 2nd? Yeah, Monday, May 1st.
May 1st at 10 a.m. They have a press release. They're sending out letters and so forth.
I don't believe any veterans have been invited.
This is what the committee asked for. I don't believe I could be wrong as to what the total cost is. This is what they were asking for the town portion. But
Yeah.
I have stressed that at town meeting, as we all know, people are going to ask and they're going to want to at least see what this is going to look like.
I guess my fear is we appropriate $15,000 and there's no, I mean, you could go from making plaques where the names are a little smaller or bigger, which would probably be the cost-effective way to add people. But what if it has to add a new monument, which then turns into excavation,
Right.
removal, monuments, I mean, we're gonna be into this for $50,000 when it's all said and done? Approving 15? And I know it's a discussion with town meeting, I just felt I wanted to
They're
speak
all,
on it.
Well, I think they should, spend the money to correct, people's names that they are wrong, but anyway.
no, but
And
Selectmen-
I don't think they've invited the Legion to the press conference.
I just think,
And
I think it's just way too
The Legion's
soon.
actually an ad hoc member of the Memorial Garden, and I don't think that they've been even included, so I'm just saying.
I mean, we've been hearing about this since, I don't know, like I said, 20 visits, but.
Selectman Hillman, and to the board, your points are well taken, because I agree that it needs to be professionally designed.
Mhm.
I said this back in February, with an image, and on installation, which we take very serious.
Mhm.
You're right, the installation costs, depending on what it is. I mean, I've heard that maybe plaques, it may be some other type of monument, some smaller monument. Last I knew, he was working with a professional on this that I'm aware of to get these requirements, but that's what they're asking for.
Okay, no other department would come forward and say, well, I'm looking into this. Let me, give me 15,000. I mean, you could say it's for engineering or design, but just.
Capital committee does it all the time.
Yeah, yes, you're bored.
But, yeah, and I don't know, I don't have the most updated warrant, I didn't hear Robert talk about this. What came up last week when we were negotiating it, or as you may know, with the town of Groton to connect to our sewer, one of the requirements is that they pay $300,000 for inflow and infiltration removal, and that was included in their MassWorks grant. So they had that money, if the project moves forward, that money is earmarked to come to Ayer. And so I think Robert was checking with town council to see how we need to accept that money, because it has to be spent about a year from now. So we need to get it and move it pretty quickly. So I just want to make sure that doesn't fall through the cracks, if we need some sort of a warrant article to accept that money and spend it.
So if it does, then they get a bill for $300,000.
I'm not sure exactly how it works, if we send them the bill and they pay it, or.
No, I mean,
but
if
they're
they
definitely-
miss that deadline.
Right. They owe it to us one way or another, but they have the money in the grant, so they're not complaining about that.
Not that.
Everything else.
More to come, right?
But as you also noticed in the capital improvements under sewer, we had $240,000 for infiltration improvements in our system. So what we would do is spend their money first before we spend any of our money. So I just want to make sure that we had to add either.
Council's reviewing.
Yeah, either in a special town meeting or a meeting.
I asked one more quick question, I apologize, it just came to my mind. I know, I want to go home too. Is Chief Murray, next year, just a thought, should the school be contributing out of their budget for the school resource officer in some degree? I mean,
It's always been like it.
well, no, I mean, I think it should be. I mean, but I think it also gives them a little more, I mean, I don't know how it works, but I think it would give them more leeway with Officer Bigelow to go to the middle school, if you know what I mean, if it's a regional.
We kind of allow her to do that anyway.
No, I know you do, but I just feel like it's in your budget, and it benefits you. I understand that it benefits the entire town, but it also really benefits the school, and there's no denying that from them or us, or I just think that they should be picking up, whether it's, I know Officer Bigelow works regular shifts, and I know there'd be some, how to work that out, but it seems to me that a portion of it at least should be in their budget, as opposed to Chief Murray's budget. And I don't know how that works, I know other communities do it, but obviously Chief Murray is still oversees Officer Bigelow, and she still works for the Air Police Department. But well, and other communities do it, and I mean, I know, obviously in the summer, Officer Bigelow has more time to work regular shifts, but even if it's a portion of the salary to offset, 90% of her time is at the school, helping, protecting, however you, educating the children in the school district. The school district should, and I don't think there's an objection to this. I just think that is something we should
Chief Murray and I have discussed that, and
Okay.
I think that for the FY19,
Yeah.
moving forward, I think that is definitely a fair discussion to have the board with the district and.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see
I understand
how
what you're saying.
contributing, I mean, obviously, whoever
Mhm.
is still the Ayer police officer, no matter what, but
Right.
funding for her salary or his salary, whoever it is, should
Mhm.
be coming from the source that it's primarily there to protect and educate. And so sorry, I know it was off the cuff, but something I'd like to look into for next year.
All right,
Do we need to make
just
Oh.
before we go on to approvals, any of the other department heads have anything? You guys all set? Yeah, Kevin? Yeah. All right, yeah, so do you wanna support, put the Board of Selectmen as supporters for all the articles? The Finance Committee hasn't weighed in, correct?
So, to that point, I'm gonna put, for Mr. Hood, on all of the finance committee ones, it's gonna say, we'll report at town meeting. That doesn't mean they're gonna speak to all of them, but because they won't, they're just gonna say, we'll report at town meeting.
All right, so just as far as sponsors are concerned, we're the sponsors.
Correct. It's your warrant.
And just for my clarification, Articles 12 through 17 are not going to be in here?
Correct, so they're going to be replaced with the bylaw article for the revolving funds.
So that'll be Article 12.
Correct.
And do I have a motion to approve the warrant as written? As amended.
I make a motion that the town meeting warrant be approved as amended.
Second?
Moved and seconded, more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We have a motion to close the town meeting warrant.
I make a motion that we close the town meeting warrant.
Aye. Second.
Get tired.
All in favor?
Good night, chiefs.
So, members
Mark.
of the board, we do have the cover sheets for your signature tonight.
Two of
We
them.
do that.
Of course you do.
You did? That was for the election.
Oh, we were all signed in the wrong space?
Yes.
At
Okay.
least the old one.
Which one of you signed in the wrong place, by the way?
Covered motion.
I came in Monday, whatever it was, and yeah, I came in at like 6 in the morning, I'm like, where do I sign?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you want to use this one, use this one.
Mine hasn't been on work.
Yeah, you signed under your name, and you should have signed above your name, so I had to sign above your name, so.
Just to confirm, the warrant goes to the printer this Friday?
Correct.
Yep. Yep. Mr. Chairman and
You
members
need a
of,
check, you know.
members of the board,
You need a check.
I want to thank everyone that has been involved in the development of the omnibus and the warrant, the Board of Selectmen, all the boards and committees and commissions, the capital planning committee, the department heads, Ms. Gabri, residents, the CPC committee. So,
You said that.
in the interest of time, in terms of the administrative update, we've covered pretty much everything that we've been doing the last couple of weeks, so I'll move to the couple of action items that I have. The first item is, we're requesting your authorization for the renewal of the town's flexible spending account program, and you have in your packet the details of that program as outlined by Mr. Johnston. As mentioned to the board, the new feature of the flexible spending account renewal is the dependent care account. And as you can see, the costs for administrating the program are within the benefits and payroll budget, and we would be looking for a vote to approve the flexible spending account renewal for FY18.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? So the limit's the same, right, 2,600? Kevin?
Mr. Chairman, the limit increased by $50 for the healthcare
Yeah.
provision this year. It's $5,000 for the dependent care.
Oh, okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next item, as the board is aware, the owner of the, we'll call it the Emily's Way subdivision, is approximately 4.5 acres of undeveloped land, has approached the town with an offer to sell it to the town. As the board is aware, as we do with all of this, I take the information, send it to all departments for an interdepartmental review. There is some interest on acquiring this property for open space purposes from the Open Space Committee and the CPC. What I'm respectfully requesting, as the board's aware, in order to move the due diligence forward, we need to do an appraisal of the property. Last year, the board approved UDAG funding for Chapter 61 appraisals, and Mr. Cabri informed me that there's still $2,500 remaining from that amount you approved.
Okay.
I'm respectfully requesting that the board consider reauthorizing $1,700 of that remaining $2,500 to do the appraisal for the Emily's Way land.
Okay, question, is this going to be a community preservation act? Because they have $12,000
It's
for appraisals.
Right. It's unclear. That's why I'm making this request.
Okay.
It may be through open space.
Okay. So we need to reauthorize $1,500.
17.
1,700.
Yeah.
I make a motion that the town reauthorize the money that was set aside from UDAG for appraisals in the amount of $1,700 for the property on Emily's Way.
Seconded.
Moved in second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, That concludes my
That
report.
concludes your report. Selectmen living,
All right.
selectmen living.
So, what am I talking about?
Okay.
So our last meeting, Mary talked about, potentially having town meeting on a Saturday. It has been we've talked,
Brought it
had
up a few years ago as well.
plenty people, it's getting late, it's getting hard to talk. Plenty of people ask it, request an interest in it. You think it might be a nice idea? I think it might be a nice idea. So why don't we just do a simple poll? Ask the question, let people let us know if they're interested. So it could be a simple question, online poll, and then we could just even have a little flyer at town meeting, say, go to this website to fill out this poll or whatever. Simply asking, are you in support of moving town meeting from Monday evening to Saturday morning? Second question, if yes, then would you prefer a start time of like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m.? Kind of take the temperature, is to find out, we could end up getting, 2,000 people responding and
It's Ayer.
1,800 of them saying, yes, we want a Saturday. Then we can then go say, okay, now that we know what people would like, then we go ahead and make the change in the town meeting. So that's what I'd like, is for kind of us to authorize an online poll.
I have no problems, because I brought it up, I think, maybe before you were here, but about Saturday. The only issues I see, and it's easily addressed, is if you do it in the current structure of where we have town meeting, you lose me. And then Saturday mornings after school vacation are flag football, soccer.
Well, that's the other problem.
But I mean, we can,
Is that
other
if
towns
you-
do it earlier too. I mean, you have this
If we
week.
actually, depending on what you look at, and that goes right down to our bylaws having to be fixed, we have 3 different dates for annual town meeting.
Yeah, well, no.
There's the 4th Monday of April, there's the 1st Monday of May, and we do it on the 2nd Monday.
And I think it should be before the election normally, because I think the sitting members of the board should be the ones there. However, if you run into a year like this year, where we have to approve questions at the election for town meeting, so that idea of being flexible to some degree, I mean, it's not very often we're approving questions at town meeting, on the ballot to go to town meeting. So you run into some issues there. I don't want to see it eliminating. I think you'd get people, because I think Littleton does it, but they have it, it's an all day. Harvard, yeah. Westford may do it on Saturdays as well.
Yeah, I mean, because right now, I mean, people show up on a Monday night and they're all in a hurry because the game's on and everything. So, I mean, there's always gonna be, you know, one of those dates where somebody can't make it, but I think we should ask.
When I brought this up previous, at town meeting and it got turned down, that was one of the biggest arguments, was what Chris said. That a lot of kids are having, whatever it may be, baseball.
I just named off one kid. The other one has
but
track,
they have it on Monday
horseback.
nights.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I supported this.
Yeah.
so
Yeah, no, I do too. I think it's something to look into.
And you could, the school, we could break for lunch. The school, the kids could make some money up there, selling pizza, whatever. You could have babysitting up there.
We've already made it an
Just two,
event.
right?
Well,
No, I'm serious, I'm not even being funny, I think this is a great idea.
Because Shirley Hills
I
are
think this is
coming
a great
early,
idea.
right?
well, this is the argument I gave before. I mean,
They've moved it.
Yeah.
It didn't go early. It used to be in
You didn't
June.
have happy,
No, I-
you didn't have happy people last
Westford
year.
is
I have
earliest in
I
March.
have
Yeah,
no problem bringing it
exactly,
up again, you know?
No, yeah, again, like Gary said, that'd be my only concern is if you get into, like I said, after school vacation, it's all hands on deck with sports, and then you run into, you have that little window.
But there's always gonna be, because some people are gonna say, well, they work shift and everything, so
Oh,
we're
I know,
always
I
gonna
agree.
have an argument. I think we should ask the question, so
Yeah, it's one plus one.
does
Yeah.
the board agree that
Yeah.
we should ask the question?
Because I don't
You
want
find
to be
it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Mary,
Make it
So
feel number
what
one.
we'll do is we will put an online poll,
okay.
and for those who don't use the internet,
Mhm.
we'll have an opportunity.
Can you do the Facebook page too? Because that seems to get
Yeah,
a
I'll
lot
talk,
of,
I'll talk to Cindy and
Yeah.
we'll get
Yeah.
it.
We'll
we'll do an online.
yeah, that seems to work well.
Sure. Okay.
And if you could just, after your poll, Robert's throwing his money around again. He throws his wallet
Yeah, he
at
does.
the meeting.
Is there anything in it? Take the money next time.
We could make the bylaw change at the fall for cash.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Chris,
I presented I presented to the board an idea about, and to the schools, about using students and the new studio up there and journalism classes that they have, or to report on these meetings. My suggestion was maybe do a department head monthly interview or something, what they do or something. Dr. Malone and the school committee were very receptive to the idea. So I was going to ask the board, if she had asked to maybe meet and further the discussion with, if anybody had any objections to moving that along. You know, obviously it'd be in the fall, but she's actually talking about budgeting money to have, you know, someone oversee, you know.
oh, so it's gonna cost us money?
No, the school itself, like, that has like a journalism.
But you'll end up costing us money.
Right.
Yeah, but everything costs us money. But I mean, it was just an idea. I mean,
No,
the
no,
journalism
I think it
class.
sounds like a good idea.
They have that beautiful studio up there, and I know APAC has expressed some interest in working with them as well, so
But I thought they couldn't produce up there for some reason.
they're working on that now.
No, it's the live transmission.
Oh.
It's
We
still
can't go
working.
live.
Yeah.
Still.
But
Still. Yeah.
I think
That's good.
our paper gives, I mean, and the other idea was maybe a monthly or every 6 week, maybe mailing. We talked about, you know, using, and they like this idea, using the Neshoba Tech to print,
Yeah.
you know, a mailing. Because residents at home do not get a lot of the stuff that goes on through our local rag of a paper.
And actually, you can,
But you know what, to be honest, and I agree with everything you're saying. But to be honest, you know, they gotta wanna look for the information too.
No, I agree.
That's the bigger problem.
I agree, but I think this would be something that could benefit.
No, I think this
Both
sounds like a
schools,
nice deal.
actually.
I think this sounds like a nice idea.
And Neshoba Tech has a journalism, and I don't know if they do, maybe they want to be involved as well. Dr. Malone was open to that as well. I mean, she liked all the ideas from out there. Principal Varga is already starting to look, I think he was interviewing someone for the position up there for the studio, so they were going to try to incorporate that, so. I just want to make sure everybody was on board if we discussed it further.
I get no problem with it.
All right, great. I think I sent only two.
Mr. Diskin, I'm sorry, I
That's
disappeared.
it.
You all set?
Good night, Lisa, thank you.
Okay.
Lisa, thank you.
Can I add something to new business?
You're the chairman, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well,
You really should have told us at the beginning of the
It
meeting.
has to do with that. Can we reorganize now instead of next week? Next meeting?
Where are you organizing?
You
We
might wanna wait
reorganize that.
until after the election.
Why?
What are we
Just
talking
in
about?
case, it could be a sticker campaign.
Well, if you lose, then someone else gets appointed.
You know, I'm just saying.
I mean,
Well, then
you
they
mean-
might not agree with how you reorg.
What are we talking about?
Who wants to reorganize the
gonna ask-
board?
Because I don't think I'll be here. Next meeting.
Oh, next meeting.
Okay, so if you're not here next meeting, it'd be the two of us, and we'd have to do it the meeting, well, whatever. It'd be the meeting after that. Yeah, if-
Just a
if you
thought.
wanna- yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't know what you were talking about. I wasn't trying to be rude. I was
You know, you might
tired.
want to tell us when we're away. After this conversation, when we're away.
I could go another 2 hours. I don't know if I have you.
Raring to go. Just gotta eat. I have no objections either way. It doesn't matter. If you're not here,
Yeah,
we'll
if you want.
I mean, if it's gonna cause a problem, we'll...
That's confused us.
It's not a problem
Doesn't
at
it
all.
say somewhere it has to be after the
I
election?
think it does,
For
yes,
some
it
reason,
does,
I
it
think-
says
for
it
some
in the
reason, I
policy,
think
it
it's
has to be
first
up to
meeting,
the election.
I actually remember that from.
Well, we've
some reason.
had 3 different things. After the election,
Yeah, but this is in our policy.
Five different
That was
policies.
updated
It all depends on-
in 2014.
It all depends on who's the
Yeah,
chair.
spring equinox falls.
Okay, minutes.
Before the harvest.
I make a motion that the meeting minutes from April 4th, 2017 be approved as submitted.
Second?
Moved and seconded.
I wasn't here.
All in favor?
I know it was
Aye.
fast. I
Aye.
Oh, sleepy one, do you have one?
make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Remember to vote, everyone, and show up for town meeting.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.